Go now to dryerbuzz.com and follow @dryerbuzz on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. It's all about the buzz.
Back to us.
Make sure.
Cheers. Hey guys, welcome in. You get to ask Leading Women. It's Leading Women Weekly, and we are pouring up our mimosas. And you should be doing the same. Do as we do. Mm-hmm. You can even do as we say. Because we're trying to live as some of the best examples. The show today is produced by Petty Betty, who's already getting bring it down a notch. We got our pictures. Ansel, is that you?
That's me. Is that you?
Me. All right. Just so to give you guys some reference, and so that we don't have to take you all back. So what I'm going to do, which I want you to do, is I want you to also go out and do a watch party on your Facebook. And I'll title that later. And also, one of the things too with the watch parties, I want you to do a watch party and a share, because people who want to engage in the conversation, that's, look, both of us.
I know, I got a sound on,
right? Producers looking at us like, really,
what are y'all doing?
So, if you're on Facebook, do a watch party, because then people will get notifications. But then also do a share so that people can come into the general conversation, so that we can, hey, Henry Carter's already jumped on there. We'll explain. There's a lot going on. There's some changes. I know everybody's like, already, there's some changes. Want to also get this shared over on, I'm going to do a watch party on Leading Women page. That's one thing we definitely want to do that. So it looks good today, Angela.
Yay!
Oh my God, this is great.
Look at me, I'm still fixing my hair, guys.
Right.
So,
and that goes with our that post that I put. It's like they've seen us,
yeah,
but in our head is a whole
entirely different
image. We gotta talk about that today. The topic today is the Audacity, but we're gonna talk about the Audacity spectrum. Now, you already know, hopefully, I'm Dryer Buzz, and this is Angela Stalcup. I have a new bio.
Oh.
I have a new bio, a new way of introducing myself, given to me through something I watched this week. And it's called, Apparently I Am. You know how people introduce you somewhere? Mm-hmm. You're like, whoa, that's me? Award-winning trailblazer.
Yes.
Blogger, influencer, podcaster, because I did things, as Muhammad Ali once said, that had never been done before.
Yep.
And I say things that have never been said before, and I carry that wisdom of him with me in everything that I do. So putting that stamp on, I want to thank The Rock. And he's like, well, I kind of meant that for my dad, and understandable. The Rock, he lost his dad, who was a trailblazer in the wrestling arena industry, pioneer, and he literally gave the definition of a trailblazer, and the way he defined it, I'm like, own that, girl. I was like, stop, pause, go put that in your bio. Yeah. So we talked about The Rock, and the only reason I'm bringing it up because remember he was the spokesperson at Oprah's event, which was in town, and everybody was like, "That's an interesting connection." What were your thoughts?
I was really confused.
Right. People are confused about the whole tour.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so explain that while I finish.
Right. That. So, first of all, it's like, okay, Oprah, and we've talked about this.
The audacity of Oprah.
The audacity of Oprah is, she's done these stadium tours, and I was right, she's going to Monique us.
Literally that, right?
She's done these stadium tours before, and where she has, guests and so forth. Mm-hmm. And so it's not unusual that she would be doing this one. Yes, and so and she has her little she has a standard group of people that her experts that you will see at any one of these. Yalanda Van Zant, right. Rob Bell, Pastor Rob Bell,
Deepak Chopra,
Deepak, right.
What's the Eat, Love, Pray?
Yeah, Elizabeth Gilbert. She's in a lot of these. Sort of the ones that you would see in the magazine, or the ones that she's launched their shows.
Influencers of the influencers.
Right, and so, but this time she had a special guest at every.
She had The Rock, and we were like, wait,
right.
Huh?
So Miami had Lady Gaga.
Oh yeah.
Chicago had Tina Fey.
Chicago had Brooklyn. Brooklyn had Michelle Obama.
Yeah, okay. Brooklyn had Michelle Obama.
Mm-hmm. Somebody this week, whoever she was this weekend, had Tracy Ellis Ross.
Yep. Now that one, could we not have had that? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Amy Schumer was in Charlotte.
We gotta stop shading the fact that we had The Rock because
we got The Rock.
Actually, you know what? I don't know what the conversation was because in the clip they talked about the fact that he had launched a tequila.
Yeah. So this is it clearly. So The Rock has recently moved to Atlanta. He has a big. He's got a big
not con like con, but I'm sorry, I mean like convention. He's doing a convention.
Well, I was gonna say he's got a big ranch out to the west of Atlanta.
Acreage.
And so he's not living in the chic area of town. He's out. He's got
he's got several places.
Oh, I'm sure. Right. But it's Powder Springs, I think, is where his main compound is.
Up the street
which
here.
Is just
down. Oh, that's probably
it's right here.
We knew they said the billionaires were coming. Yeah. And surely the millionaires were following.
And so
that's kind of where we are. Go ahead.
So why Atlanta for The Rock, right?
For The Rock.
For what we were like, what is it? Well, you said he's got a tequila line. That's right. He brought tequila and they drank tequila. But he is launching a conference called Athleticon. And there's a female partner who is I don't know.
The Audacity of The Rock.
The Audacity of The Rock. That's going to be located here in Atlanta, and it's meant to be sort of the Comic-Con of all things athletic.
Of athleticism.
Yes.
Right.
So, and he's including wellness in there. So this is where they saw the overlap of the Oprah brand with Weight Watchers as wellness.
And then just to let you know, Dwayne, it was racking our brain. It was literally racking our brain because we've come together through Oprah, through Michelle Obama, through who else that it's inspired us through women,
right?
And that's why we were together. And we were like, and normally we would have been not front row, but we'd have been somewhere in the arena,
right?
But we were just trying to figure out what the connection was going to be. And even as they go from city to city, every town, everywhere is trying to figure out what is it? Weight Watchers? Is it Oprah?
Right? Is it Oprah? What is it? And
what is it?
And it is a sponsored Weight Watchers, program. And so, part of my issue was, do I want to pay to be in the audience for a Weight Watchers ad? Because if it's a sponsored Weight Watchers event. Not that Oprah didn't have wonderful things to say, because Oprah's wonderful. I mean,
but you just didn't know what it was. The first time around we did.
But it was very clear. So she's calling this her 2020 Vision Tour.
2020 Vision.
And so she's talking about Rock and Vision and how he has, I'm sure, talked about how he started as an athlete, became an actor and a professional, celebrity, and now how he's turning that into business. So I mean that makes sense that you talk about that for Vision. But it doesn't seem to go along with the crowd that you'd expect at an Oprah event. And it's, because you typically would expect to have a visionary female.
Right. Which is, I think that's because that's what we want.
Yes.
And that really hit on the gender spectrum.
Yeah.
Like, we're like, why a man? We even though the others have been there, they had a clear, succinct connection to how to grow the esteem of women.
Absolutely.
We couldn't think of The Rock Dwayne.
Right. Speaking to a female audience.
Right.
And although
intended audiences, which is what we talked about last week.
It is, and I think that was the confusion of it. Who's the intended audience? Because sure, women think The Rock is sexy or whatever.
Exactly.
But I don't know that people are seeking The Rock, that women are seeking The Rock for as a model or as inspiration.
Sorry, The Rock, Dwayne.
Yeah, but no hate, Rock. And I love The Rock. I love. I think he's cool.
And then too, that happened the week that he had just buried his dad.
And of course, which is
what we
exactly, and and nothing but sympathies to you, Dwayne Johnson. And
don't worry, I'm gonna get Angela sipping. She's gonna get off The Rock. Go ahead,
and then I'll get off The Rock.
But we're talking about intended audiences and so forth. So just one thing that did make us do is keep our eye on The Rock.
Sure did. And then I went and said, what's the next Rock up to?
He moved here. He's launched a brand. He's launched a product. He's launched a conference.
And literally.
And we only know this because we asked.
Exactly. And I'm obviously paying attention to The Rock because I knew The Rock had moved here, right?
Exactly.
And I was like, why did The Rock move here to the country? Why is he in
Atlanta?
Atlanta?
Stop calling this the country.
This is the country, girl.
Says the person who posted a donkey.
Who I was gonna say, this is the person who says, I think someone went through the neighborhood selling donkeys, plural. This girl, you live by
Everywhere
donkeys.
we went, everybody has a donkey now. I'm like, why do I not have a? I mean, like really, y'all. Somebody is selling jackasses out there. Okay,
look, if you live
everywhere,
if you live in Atlanta and you're
if you never leave the perimeter,
if you were living in Atlanta, my personal demarcation line,
right.
On the west side is if you get to East-West Connector and Austell Road,
you start seeing animals.
You were in the country.
You're in the country, and then if your good friend tells you to drive another 20 miles to come and do a podcast.
It used to be if you got to Woodstock or Crabapple or Cumming, right? Now, I mean, it's sort of inched out, but I was like, on the west side, east side. I can't tell you if you're in Conyers, you're fully in the country, but I mean, there's some lines, right? To me, if you get down to Fayetteville, you're back in the country.
It's absolutely the place you want to be, and you want to be able to get inside the city, outside the city, and so forth.
And I thought it's just as a location for someone like The Rock, who clearly has got to get to the airport. He's going to be traveling. I'm like, so this is not a bad location to be able to pretty easily get to the airport.
Unless he's taking the private
Well, he may be doing private jets.
The private airport is, there's so many. And one of the things I have learned is like there's a lot going on in the skies. Mm-hmm. The helicopters, the airplanes, the private planes, and so forth.
And I thought about that for him, and then we can move on from The
Because
Rock.
in this area, I mean, you think about the acreage that he has, he literally could
fly in and out
a helipad and rock.
Yes, and that is happening around here now.
It's happening.
Is that there are helipads? Yeah. So I was like, he probably does have a helipad.
Right.
He goes wherever he
flies. In just a few moments, if not already, the bishops will take the air. It's a Sunday morning. I mean, how do you have a church of multi locations? You got to have a You got to have a helicopter.
Yeah.
So look up. There's your bishop.
But back to the idea of audacity. Right?
Audacity.
And so
audacity is what we want to talk about this week.
And you don't, while you may say the audacity of The Rock to show up at a women's event, you don't really, right? You're like,
well, I mean, he worked that.
Yep. And you don't say, the audacity of The Rock to think that he can launch a conference.
As women, we did. Mm-hmm. But everybody else was like, that's just what men do.
That's just what men do.
Because just imagine, and he talked about the tequila was coming.
Right.
A woman would have been, how many women, and I guarantee you this, how many women that Oprah might have approached then or even over the years or to go on this tour, because that's something we talk about all the time.
Right.
And we hear when we say, why aren't there women on we call them panels?
Right.
Panels full of men. And we found out that women are not able to book that many dates out. So we just got to the point we can no longer be mad about it.
No, and like I say, my only issue with The Rock was that I felt like there's just so many incredible Atlanta-based women that I think would speak to an Oprah audience who would be inspired.
Right.
An audience would be inspired by them. Not to say they weren't inspired by The Rock, and I'm sure there's some.
I'm surprised we didn't see more clips, so we don't know.
No, and that's it. But the point is, and let's just pull back to Oprah, and then we can move on to the spectrum of audacity. I'm on Periscope.
Okay, Angela is keeping an eye on your Periscope comments.
You want to
I'm keeping an eye on your Facebook comments. This is a live two-way conversation. We throw out a topic, and you guys get to engage with us before, during, and after.
And thanks to everybody who's joining us here on Periscope. And my eyes are not good enough to see it, but I see someone says it looks like a buzzer 190. Patricia Cope. CLLGLL, lots of N's. Welcome. I'm gonna have to do my
your best,
my face, my scrunchy face to see. But to say again, the audacity of Oprah, right?
Right.
Is to say she has invested in Weight Watchers. She's clearly has money and has got skin in that game, and she's figured out how to bring it all together.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I just want to make sure.
She's figured out how to bring that together and she got Weight Watchers.
Yes, okay, go ahead.
She got Weight Watchers to underwrite that event. So good for her. Good for her.
And we heard that. Who else? Somebody else got an amazing underwriter. Will Smith and Jada Pinkett.
Yes,
have figured it out. Over the last year, both of them came and divulged everything on social media. They just got a $200 million deal to do arena tours.
Ah.
So they will be coming.
And that will be very interesting, and I think they will pack out houses.
Arenas.
Yes.
They will pack out arenas.
Yes.
So that's something to keep an eye out. You imagine with the Red Table Talk, and then Will was doing his thing on the side. But one of the things that they both learned is Will said he thought that being the celebrity, they needed to maintain a level of mystery.
Right.
But after having come out and confirmed all the rumors we ever thought were absolutely true, they decided that they would go on and live in public. So I want to get to something with you. And I want you. Did you sip yet?
I
Do
have.
we need to start again. I want you to relax because I know you've been in Atlanta traffic trying to get here to the country.
Went from one side of the country to the other.
To the other, right? So I know you've been on the road. But what we want to talk about today, ladies and gentlemen, is the audacity. The audacity. But we want to talk about it as we're going to call it the audacity spectrum. And because it's Sunday and there's no football, but I have spent the season suffering with the Falcons that I kind of know a little something about football. And as I was talking with Angela, we were doing our pre-stream call, we were trying to figure out how to really describe this and get you guys to buy into this conversation. So basically what I want you to think about as we continue to have our conversation here, audacity is basically on the 50-yard line. Everybody should have the audacity of something.
Yes.
You should have the audacity of something. What we continue to witness in our society is, if you imagine one field goal is the negative and the other field goal is the positive. We're spending too much time down there in the end zone of the negative. The negative has, over the past decade, become the thing, like right has become wrong. Nothing is as it seems. And so what we want to talk about, as we mentioned, we're going to talk particularly about some people, and I'm going to give you a great example. Snoop Dogg, some people know him as Snoop, some people know him as Snoop Dogg, had the audacity.
Yeah.
While he should have.
Yeah.
Snoop, in my opinion, scored. He scored.
Yeah.
But he scored for the wrong team. He was running the wrong way, and everybody was like, "No, the other way,
go the other way,
go the other way." And I was thinking about a meme to do that, but that's what it is. Which is why he has had to come back and not do one, not two, but three videos to try to articulate some type of apology, or even in publicity-wise to give an apology. But then we can also talk about Gayle King having the audacity,
right?
And we can figure out what kind of yardage, because yardage was clearly lost,
right?
On Gayle King's audacity, certainly the audacity of the network, right? Lisa Leslie, I would have loved for us to spend all the time we spent on Gayle and Snoop talking about the friendship and the loyalty of we talk about legacy of what Lisa Leslie, and I did do a post that said, "Hey, listen, if you can't stand for me the way Lisa Leslie did, we are not friends." So when we mention the names and the some of the subject matter that we're going to cover today, I want you to think about audacity as if it was the 50-yard line, and let's figure out, and so that you can have a visual as you go out into your week, and having the audacity to believe in things or to enact your actions. Figure out if you're, I like that, losing yard.
Yeah.
What is that? There's something they say in the Falcons say 0 yardage. Like they didn't gain yardage, but they didn't lose yardage. Now to me that's kind of stagnant. But we know in football with the clock running out, and I don't want to be all football like I'm a pro at this or anything. But I just find that that's how I can get people to understand.
Well, and especially that idea of a spectrum, and when you're looking at yardage, there's lines, right? There's and a spectrum.
You can visualize,
right? There's like a graph or a line, and I like to think of, again, I'm not a sports person, but goalposts, right? And you have the uprights and this, and you're trying to hit in this broad middle,
right?
And you can maybe be a little this way or that way, but as long as the middle is not this, it's this, right? So,
exactly.
So that, like you say, that sort of that audacity, that healthy, positive audacity, right?
Yes.
The audacity that's needed to get up and do a thing, right? You may go this way, you may go this way a little bit, right? You may be a little too audacious, you may be a little under audacious. That's okay, as long as you're in this functional piece.
Right.
But to your point, if you start going backward into negative, either being just ridiculously arrogant,
malice,
hubris, just
That you intend to harm.
Self-centered, narcissistic.
Yes, narcissism.
Right.
Yes.
So if you go into narcissism, that's great.
Somebody was classified a narcissist this week. Who was it?
Oh God, everybody.
No, somebody. Like seriously, it was applied to them. Go ahead, keep talking.
Yeah.
I'm going to
So
talk about who that was.
Audacity. I think this is a good. The Audacity to the extreme would become narcissism, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you go to the other way where you're not audacious, then you're gonna actually fall into sort of low self-esteem.
Right.
You know, not believing in yourself,
Right.
not speaking up. That this is, you know, again, with the goalpost, it's here. You're in between.
Mm-hmm.
With these two that you're talking about losing yardage, right?
Yeah,
If this
yeah,
is on one
yeah.
side and this is on the other side, it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
You're headed in the same
I was going to
direction.
use an algebraic expression.
I wish you would
And
have.
I was like, probably better not. Because, you know, not every people still run around today saying we don't use math.
I would
but
love
we
it.
do.
I would
Yeah.
love it now. You've
Yeah.
got to work out your
Right.
quadratic equation
Right. And
for
you have to have balance
Audacity.
on both
You
sides
have to
and all that
balance
kind of
it,
stuff.
right?
Exactly.
And so it's a balanced equation. That's perfect. And so to say yes,
Because we don't have balance.
no, and it's
in this.
polarization. It's a term we're hearing a lot.
Yes. I want you to keep that in focus
And-
as we talk about this.
And this is, in fact, when you get to polar opposites,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Is that you think about in a magnet, you got to have a positive and a negative pole to attract.
Mm-hmm.
So then you end up with these extreme arguments coming at each other,
Yes, yes.
right? Instead of being in this middle position, and I think this is the problem a lot of us have. They're involved in any kind of public discourse, and if we take our story last week about Gail and Snoop, and it became so polarized. It even now is very difficult to have discussions with anybody that disagrees with you, because they're just like this, right? The same thing in our politics. You can't even have a discussion, like a discourse. It's like, nope, I'm right, I'm right, you're wrong, I'm right, you're wrong. Well, the same thing with Audacity, which is, I'm right, I'm going to crush you, or I have nothing and I have no power. And really, it's about power.
Or we're both saying the same thing, right?
Yes.
But I need to win an argument that we're not even having.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
and
another
that
thing.
to me is the ultimate of polarization. It's the same kind.
But then that's kind of like if you think about the offense and the defense. Like, you know, you're on the same team, but one can literally destroy the other.
Yep.
Because, you know, the offense goes out there and scores, and then the defense goes out there and let the other team score.
Yep.
That's that zero. Like you're not,
exactly.
Yeah.
It's almost and it's like almost like you get pushed so far around that you're back that you're
Back
now you're
where
over
you
here back where you
started.
or you get lapped, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so it is, you know, that you've gone so far this way that you're over here, and it's not, and ultimately for all of this, it's not effective. First of all, it's not effective for an individual, but as we look, these things can become dangerous.
And that's what we are. That's what we are. Now I hope that we have clearly described what the spectrum is. Now we want to go to some topics that are on the spectrum, particularly those things that are trending, particularly those things that are in the news. Rape culture. And I wanted to say that. I didn't want to put that in the title. But I particularly had to have a Twitter conversation with an individual that I asked you to monitor. We won't say who, but they're clearly, a lot of us, we live in public. And I said, I just literally had to ask Angela, let me know if this is hitting where I think it's hitting.
And this is a public person. Let's just say it's a public person.
And, I mean, who isn't in this land, right? And I said, let me know if this is hitting on the spectrum for you. And I even had the conversation with them where I had to explain the spectrum. And I said that their lifestyle is one that our president himself used as an excuse for behaviors. Behaviors is what we're getting to.
Right. And back that up, Yalanda, to say, you're talking about someone who described a man who described behaviors toward a woman.
A woman. Well, the first place it caught me was he didn't understand. He said something about a woman who had some professional achievement. He then talked about her personal appearance. Now, mind you, she had a positive personal appearance.
Right.
And he was noting that. But he didn't understand that in this profession, you cannot mention, and pretty much nowhere.
Right.
Okay. Well, in the old society.
Right.
The new society is different. But letting him know someone commented, "Oh, somebody's gonna take that the wrong way," and I said, "Yeah, you just did."
Yeah.
Right, I'm trying to tell the guy, I'm like, yeah, you just
what he wrong.
said.
Yeah.
I just want to acknowledge the fact that you were uncomfortable as a man. Mm-hmm. You were uncomfortable with what he said. Don't put it off, because this is what we do. We distract. What do you detract, right?
Right.
Because he was trying to say, oh, somebody's going to come at you. I said, but you were bothered, and I'm talking to both of these men, I'm saying, but you were bothered by it, because you either had no woman, clearly you were born by a woman,
right?
Birthed by a woman. And I'm telling him, I need you to admit that what he said bothered you first, because you then tried to warn him, which is what we say men don't do.
Right.
Right? But he did it in such a way as, hey, I'm not saying it, but somebody might come back and say.
Right.
And I said, no, dude, you just said it. So then they both asked me to explain. I'm glad they gave me that attention, that opportunity to engage them in this discourse, as you say. As to what this, because I just said, hey, y'all are on the spectrum. And they were like, wait, what do you mean? Spectrum. I said, because one, in your profession, you cannot mention a woman's professional accolades and her appearance at the same time, or allude to the fact that one may have to do with the other. And I only said it because his timeline blew up. Right. You know, and within those 3 days that we talk about, here comes this major debate, and he was time after time explaining to people, I only meant this, and I said, well, when you have to say what something is not, then it's on the spectrum, and it's based on a behavior. He then literally asked me a couple of questions, and I said, well, I'm going to tell you like this: when the person that is now president, Donald Trump, with the Billy Bush, and the bus, I said, the president said, oh, that's just locker room talk. I said, well, you guys legitimately come out of the locker room. Right. So he said that his behavior is one that you guys exhibit all the time. So you are literally the excuse that these men are giving and having these conversations about women, and that means that you're on the spectrum, and that's what we mean. We said the audacity. You know, how did you have the audacity? Because your behavior, that's an audacity. If there was nothing positive about it, you took it. You lost some yardage, you know, like, oh, cool. Hey, this particular town has their first African American. I think she was a police chief or attorney general or something to that matter. He goes, and she looks good. Right,
which basically denigrates her achievements by saying that she achieved for some other reason. Not to say,
but then men want to know, well, can I?
Well, and
can you say that?
Well, and really, you shouldn't. Because
it's a gray area.
It is. However, I mean, I have an academic paper that gets quoted almost every day that is called the plainness penalty, and it's based on research around looks and how much money you make. And people, male and female, in the West and Western cultures who are considered traditionally good looking get paid more. This is what the research is.
The research meaning the facts.
But you wouldn't say about a man who became, a police chief, and he looks really good, right?
But does that derive to like the confidence level of that person? Do people who feel they look better, do they have more confidence? And is that why they get paid more, because they then go ask for more, they negotiate better? Like,
that's one.
What are the findings?
That's one factor, but also there's an implicit bias that because someone who is traditionally attractive is somehow smarter.
Which one has more yardage, audacity?
Smarter, more talented. It's just you look at them and say, oh, they're professional. They look more. You say they look professional.
All in the shot, but go ahead.
You assume that they're more accomplished, whatever, right? So there's a bias on the from the point of view of interviewers and employers that somehow the better looking, and I'm going to put air quotes on that, right? Person is somehow more talented, and it's because this is what we put forward as saying, we
when you say it's because of what we put forward, the person that has the bias is putting that forward,
no.
Or
it's what the culture puts forward as what a successful person looks like. So you say, this is a picture of a successful person, right? And typically they're going to look a certain way.
So why did the looks of, if that's how we function, that people who look great succeed, why did he make a note? Did he expect that somebody, maybe in his mind, somebody in public safety wouldn't be beautiful?
Okay. This is my face right here.
That's your face. Okay.
This is my face.
Okay.
Yeah, he read my paper and he was talking about implicit bias toward traditional beauty. No, he's like, this woman used her looks to get ahead. That's when men talk about women.
Because if they say it,
they're like, they use their looks to get ahead, which is basically like either they're suggesting that they use the promise of sex or they slept their way to the top. That is at the root of that statement.
Funny, it's odd you say that because that is the narrative that came out in the Richard Jewell
That's exactly
movie.
Right.
And like no way this journalist was that smart. And she had to have used sex.
I didn't know her, but I know people who knew her very well.
And they were highly offended.
And they were offended, and they're like, this is disgusting. It's a disgusting thing. And why do we say it's a disgusting thing to say? I mean,
because, again, it goes back to the Colby thing. This woman has since passed on.
Yeah.
It's part of her journalistic integrity, was part of her legacy.
Absolutely. And this
movie did away with all of that.
She worked very hard, and to say that the only reason that she did anything was because
the audacity.
She used sex. Now, there's a part of me that's like, use what you got, right? I'm not gonna, but again,
wait, what was that?
That I'm like, that's the wine. But no, I'm like, hey, you if you're trying to get a story, you want to sleep with a source. But journalists have standards of conduct, and so to suggest that she slept with a source is to say she violated a journalistic code.
Whenever I hear those suggestions. While it might not be part of my behaviors or my character, I then wonder if it's the behavior or the character of the person who levies that kind of accusation.
Well, and that's it. And to say, if you want to get ahead with me, if I'm in power, here's what you got to do. Right. And thus we have Roger Ailes and Fox News,
Epstein and Eric. All the way. Yeah. What you said? Roger Ailes, Fox. What's the other guy now that's on trial?
Weinstein.
Okay.
But I mean, even let's not talk about Weinstein.
And the only reason Roger Ailes is not on trial because he died.
And so, but you look at Roger Ailes and the women of Fox News.
That was a hellified documentary show.
And I'm like, I'm not into Fox News at all. But it's so interesting, and I've not seen this.
The audacity.
I've not seen this piece. Somebody saw it, and the women, Megyn Kelly, they had a viewing party and they watched it. They were not involved. I didn't realize they were not involved at all. Nope.
Because there's not one but two.
No. Yeah. So was it Gretchen?
One coming from Gretchen's perspective. One coming from Megan's perspective.
Right. And they were not involved.
Involved.
They saw it cold. Right, they were sitting on a couch together watching it.
Wow!
And so that it was very interesting to hear their perspective, and to say that they continued to have social relationships with these abusive, these creepy sexual, Roger Ailes and company, because it was just sort of what was expected. But the group of them, when they were watching the women, there was one where a woman is going up and she's getting in the elevator and she's getting ready to be basically assaulted. They all started crying because they knew
that's how it happened.
They knew what happened, and they're like, this was so. But they're like, it didn't matter how much education we had. It didn't matter how talented and accomplished we were. It basically was turn around and let me look at you.
But didn't I say that last week when Weinstein's attorney said, "Well, I would never put myself in that position." I'm like, he's walking behind you. That is the position for you to be assaulted.
And I don't know if it was Soledad O'Brien who replied to something like this. It's like, well, if any woman who goes to a man's hotel room, should be expecting to be assaulted, and she's like, any woman who goes anywhere should not expect to be assaulted.
Right.
And it's like, but again, these implications, which is again part of rape culture, is that women ask for it. It's on the woman to protect herself, rather than saying men are fully capable and responsible over their own bodies, just like women are fully capable and responsible over their own bodies, and you don't see women jumping men, right? So this is, again, this minimizes female sexual desire. Well,
Terry Crews said you don't see it. What's the guy Pinky from what's his name? And I don't want to joke about this because one of them that I know, the guy who played Pinky on Friday, Clifford Powell.
Right.
Is that his name?
Yes.
Powell. Clifford, I want to say Clifford Howard. Clifford Powell.
Powell,
Clifford,
I think.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
And he was on, remember I did the interview on WABE on the Me about the Me Too. He was in the next segment. And so he has a long history of dealing with women in Hollywood and seeing some of the very same things happen to him. And that's why we wanted to call this pretty much a spectrum.
Well, and that's it. And I think it's not based on gender, and it's not really based on sex. It's based on power.
Power and behaviors, yes.
And so as more women get into positions of power, they may too use sexual power.
Well, why not? Because that's the thing that's assumed. We assume that that's how this stuff gets done.
Yep.
And if you do get in,
absolutely.
You know,
and it's also considered to be the privilege of getting in. I think about this thing of talking about locker room culture and so forth. And you look at athletics, sports, you look at fraternity culture, and they go through hazing, right? And so to get into the organization or to move up through the organization, you have to be humiliated.
Right.
And why do you do it? Because then it gives you the right to humiliate others.
Right. And you go through it with the hope that you're next. You'll get to humiliate. And not stop what's going on, but you get to become
and the idea is
oppressor.
Right. The idea is you have this shared experience. You're bonded. You're showing, again, particularly male culture is one up, one down. You've honored the hierarchy, so then you get to move to the top of the hierarchy. Right. And I'm not talking about sexually assaulting women. I'm just talking about the kind of debasing things
we're just talking
fraternities
about
that soldiers do to each other.
Gateway to this, because there are those who, you know, if you're talking about the field goal, there are those, they just want to gain a little bit of yardage, but then there are those, they want the field goal. And remember, we were talking about one side being negative and one side being positive. There are those who are out there operating with complete malice, wanting to cause harm.
And when you make somebody, for example, drink to the point that they get alcohol poisoning,
not the mimosa,
not that we're doing this, that's malice, right? That's harm, right? And so it doesn't even, again, this is about power, but it's like, I have the power over you to make you do something that you don't want to do, right?
And that's it, that you don't want to do. Okay, now here's the gray area. Here's the gray area, because somebody's going to, because as I look at this, I can see who's already coming in. And let's shout them out: Zakia, Ringo, Denise, Daniel, Barry, Leonard, Frida, Curtis. And Curtis is an awesome producer as well. So to have his cosign on the show. But what I said that, but what was the thing? I just stopped you. What did I say?
Yeah. So
what was the?
I'm looking at this statement.
Doing something you don't want to do. That's the gray area where we are, and I think that we should take on, because there are people out there that have been to prosecute. There are people out there that, even we just had Valentine's Day. There are people right now probably trying to figure out, and I know we know there are, because what is it, like 1 in 4? We know that people are trying to progress. Wait, did Valentine's Day really go the way I wanted it to?
Exactly.
You know, the first date, the next date, the last date, whatever. The interview. The lunch date. You know, it's like you go on a lunch date. Oh, hey, listen, I got to run up to the room for a minute. Somebody right now, all hours of the day, because we know there is a TikTok for which these things happen. One of the reasons we want to talk about the spectrum, because I think there are some gray areas.
And so here, Z Junko 1 says, women versus society. Society says it's okay if it happened to slave women who spoke up. This is part of the spectrum of this, is that when you have this idea of absolute power, you end up with absolute abuse. And so white supremacy, the underlying pieces of white supremacy and patriarchy lead to slavery, lead to enslaved people, lead to women being raped in the name of slavery and in being property.
From one continent to the other.
Men also being raped, men being beaten, killed, people being killed.
Suppressing it. Go back to that men part.
And then
suppressing that part.
And then not, again, looking at what happened to enslaved peoples, but in this country, and it's who spoke up, right? Because it was, again, this polarization of power, right? And so even now, you say, who's speaking up? Black women speak up, right?
But we've been talking about that. There's nothing, zero in America that hasn't come without some type of revolt. There's, absolutely nothing, no matter who you want to talk about. Even the fact that you guys have President's Day off tomorrow, the day after we're taping this, that came, everything, holidays, every single thing is about somebody speaking up. And what we've had to do since we live in public and in social media, there's a lot of hypocrisy.
Yes. Well, this is
coming out of this, because you have to say to a person, well, you didn't just automatically get that. Somebody spoke up.
And let's look at this. And the follow up here was no social protection, and it's true. And so
protection. We talked about that word too.
But I think this is interesting. First of all, it's the hypocrisy being revealed, right? And it's like you realize
we might need a whiteboard for
exactly. But also the internalized messaging.
Yes.
So we internalize these things. So you see that as many women speak against, say, okay, here's this person, and why was she in a hotel room, right? This will be women will say it, right? The audacity thinks she wouldn't be raped. We internalize these messages, so society is complicit. I absolutely believe that. We're still in this.
Why wouldn't we say to men, hey, fellas, when you get a hotel room, don't rape anybody.
Just don't rape anybody.
Don't rape anybody.
Maybe that should be on the wall.
How about we just start saying, hey, listen, fellas, don't invite anybody to the room. Right? Because, I don't know how much gray area you have there, but just don't invite anybody up.
Well, and this goes to the issue, and I'm not going to get deep into it. I got deep into it with Yalanda.
Well, get deep into it with them.
About how when you look at any culture, and really this is all cultures, but any culture that comes out of a traditional Christian Judeo-Islamic background, where Eve is the center, right?
Let's clear the air.
Right. So
put that out there, Angela.
On Sunday. It's Sunday, and I wish I had my Bible. I'd read some scriptures.
Not the scripture.
I put my Bible out.
Just that one part, because she's about to redeem Eve.
I'm about to redeem Eve.
Redeem Eve, right. Angela.
It's that when we say that it is Eve who is responsible for the fall of man, right? That Adam couldn't resist Eve, even though there's nothing in the scripture that indicate there's anything sexual that happened there, but that Adam, dumb old Adam, right, who was around longer, was so duped by Eve. Not by Eve was duped by the serpent, but Adam was duped by Eve, where we make women the central threat to human existence, to spirituality. You got this rape. This is where rape culture comes from. Is that women can't be trusted, and I'm going to say my piece on this. Is that when women are a threat to men, that men are so out of control of their own bodies and their own urges that they can't.
We've allowed that forever.
They see a woman that turns them on, and they're going to jump her, and they can't help it. This is the Bible
that's
is
what
full of it.
Isn't that what Trump said?
This is what we say.
You see him, you just want to
grab him.
You just want to grab him.
You want to kiss him and grab him, right? Well, I've seen guys that I'd be like, I just want to grab them. I don't. Right?
Thankful for the guys that don't have that.
But you know what? But we say, just to finish this, we say that men cannot control
incapable.
This. And
we say that men are incapable.
It's demeaning to them to say that they don't have agency over their own bodies. So when we say that women are the ultimate threat to men, that men are made, that God is made, that man is made in God's image, that God is a man, we've basically said women are the ultimate threat to God.
But see, I'm a mom of a son.
Yeah.
And I see that my bonus son, whom I recently met, is on here watching from Germany. So hello. So my bonus son Jermaine is on there. But I'm that person. First of all, I found the conversation Eve had with the serpent really pretty interesting. The context of it was like, okay, let me give that some thought. And if you give that some thought, you're like, it really starts to kind of decloud a lot of stuff, right? So but I'm still on that gray area part. The fact that we have taken it from that moment on to go on through life to say that, because this is why we're here on this spectrum. We continue to say that men are incapable, but I'm a mom of a son, and I have found that I have had to tell my son, I'm sorry, your testosterone, and this is our life together, okay? Because he's a man now, right? And since testosterone rose up in my house since the very first day, I have had to say, your testosterone can't win out right here. Yeah. It can't even be exhibited. You can't exhibit it right here in this moment. and I understand the principles of bull elephants, and that's where a male, where men like to say a woman can't raise a man. You know, we raise excellent men. In fact, I have a commendation from the United States of America to say that I raised a hellified man. So, but anyway, and I love the fact that I get to be the woman to say that.
Right.
But at the same time, I understand scientifically you got a level of testosterone that I don't have.
Yeah.
And I have to say to him that with me and every woman you meet, if that testosterone gets out of hand, it will impact the way you engage with that person for the rest of your life. Yeah. I'm your mother until the day I die, and even therefore after. But if you and I misconstrue a moment, and one of these moments I only have to thank for that a good friend of mine named Jenks Morton, who wrote a book about that moment with his own mom. And I used that in raising my son. Like, oh man, this moment is around the corner. Because everybody, we're supposed to challenge each other. For, you know, humans, moms, sons, daughters, all that, we're supposed to challenge. And I know that one day he's going to come to me, he's going to debate me on something, and he's supposed to win. Yeah. Because, you know, we live in two different worlds. Right. And I said, let me take the words of this book and bring it into practice. Right. Let me practice, because Mom, you got to understand, still that testosterone is there. That's the one thing I cannot model for him. Right. How to do that. So let me make sure that he has dad, granddad, uncles, mentors all throughout his life, so that he can see, like, Mom keeps talking about this testosterone. Well, I make sure he's in the room with men who are doing things, and that testosterone does rise up. Yep. But I also make sure that he will speak out. Take yourself out when you see these scenarios where there is malice and maybe even harm. Yeah. Here's how you take yourself out of that.
If you underestimate the power of testosterone, and this is I'm gonna put this out here and say I totally respect this. I would say talk to a trans man. Talk to a person who was assigned female at birth who started taking testosterone. They will talk to you about how the extreme interchange that comes from taking testosterone. Wow. That the libido, that anger, ability to even express emotion. I knew someone who said that they couldn't cry anymore. That's what I was
going to say. Does it make them incapable? Because we're on the spectrum. We're dealing about.
So we're talking about someone who was socialized female, but once they were on testosterone, high enough doses to really have physical changes, so they were not even physically able to shed tears. And so this I found, and again, I have great compassion for that.
Still have the emotion, but
it's not still felt the emotions. We're not able to express it
because we would think this would be the perfect balanced person, right?
Exactly.
That's how we look at the trans community.
Exactly, and so again,
like, you got the both the best worlds,
and I'm just talking about a handful of people that I know, right? To say their hormones do affect you, right? And I think that if you talk to trans women, they talk about as they increase their estrogen, they become more open to feelings and emotions. So I don't want to suggest that men don't have challenges in dealing with their sex drive and dealing with their emotions and dealing with anger, that it does have a physical component. But it doesn't mean that they can't control it.
But the key piece you said, how they're socialized.
And how they're
That's
socialized.
What we're dealing with here. That's why we can have a spectrum.
Right.
Because if I just stay at home, antisocial, and I've been having that conversation, kind of find out I'm not antisocial. I just got a few social phobias.
Right. There you go. There you go.
I like that. Because you've inspired me to look for the other word, because I'm usually coming down on myself. I'm not antisocial. I got social phobias
and they're legitimate. And guess what? We all have PTSD.
Hear the empowerment of my girl. She said it's legitimate. Thank you for that.
And again, everybody has something. That's part of being a human being, right? And we can't get down on ourselves.
Sorry, y'all. That was a mommy look at Petty Betty. I don't know. That was a mommy look at Petty Betty wanting to go in and out.
But I want to quote my mom, who was raised in the 1950s, and she said that until she had sons, she's a mother of sons.
So what she have? You're the oldest.
I'm the oldest. So then there were 2 boys and 2 girls. And so
she had you.
Yeah, so there was me, and then she had 2
And I know how that feels to have a daughter, and then a son comes along, and you witness the best relationship she's ever had.
And she was like, I was raised to believe that men were dogs, that men were animals, that they were animalistic. And this is a person who was raised as a church going. All the men in her family were super churchy. I mean, this is she's like that. But that men can't be trusted. That men are dangerous. Wow. And she said, when I had sons, I looked at them and said, these are not animals. Said, my sons are not animals, and I refuse to treat them as such.
But as a woman, in her socialization, she was prepared to deal with the animalistic.
And so she said, I know I have to then counter. She said, counter the socialization. And see, this is it. It's a socialization. And so I go back to, we do a disservice to men when we suggest that they can't control themselves. Just like we do a disservice to women when we tell them that they are victims and powerless, right? It's like, no, neither side. Again, the polarization of it.
Wait, now, we do a disservice to men when we say and you get snapping some photos from me, please. You're saying we do a disservice to men when we say that they can't control themselves.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
But if we do a disservice, do they, on the other hand, also take advantage of that?
Well, I don't even know that it's an advantage, because I don't think a person is happy who is.
Which is why we have men like Weinstein, Epstein, Cosby.
Right. I think that men who feel out of control,
who want to be found out,
right?
Like these men on these sex stings. We had a college president this week got caught up in a
Exactly. No, I'm not suggesting that there aren't monsters and that there aren't people who are sociopaths or psychopaths of both genders.
Right. And we talked about the genius and the monster, because you had a question about that we were going to bring into this.
Yes.
Who was it we were talking about?
That we were just talking about that any sort of, Bill Cosby is an example.
No, it was like a new person. We were talking about the genius and the monster. Somebody was getting an award or we were trying to figure out whether or not we continue to support them.
Kirk Douglas. Was it Kirk Douglas that we're talking about?
Kirk Douglas was his dad. His dad.
So the dad is Kirk.
Yeah.
The dad is Kirk. Michael's the son. Kirk Douglas died at 103, lion of the film community. And within about 5 minutes of me seeing the tweet that Kirk Douglas had died, comes the tweet that says, "Hey, don't forget he raped Natalie Wood when she was 16."
And perfect example of having to navigate men on the spectrum. Natalie Wood, I mean, there's still to this day suspicion around her death.
That's right. And so, exactly, and I think you said she just had a time.
Not to mention that she played in the most epic movie about a woman's mental health.
Exactly. But again, that's a rumor. And so to Kirk Douglas's family,
it's a rumor
that it was she and her memoir said that when she was 16, she was raped by a powerful actor in Hollywood. She never said who it was. However, after she passed, her sister said it was Kirk Douglas.
Because back in the day,
others said it was Kirk Douglas.
To a studio.
Right.
You didn't just go out and do a film here and a film there. You would work
and
so for a studio.
We don't have there was no court trial. There is no confessions.
I mean, the same thing with her death or her disappearance.
Exactly. So again, you look at somebody though who has had a genius career, right? But can have monster tendencies. And I heard a term, and I don't remember now. And there's a thing called source amnesia, where you hear a thing, you don't remember where it came from, right? So I'm going to give myself I'm going to say I have source amnesia, where someone was talking about that we have to be careful of, like we talked about deifying, lionizing, taking somebody and making them a saint as though they had no problems.
We were talking about
but you can also monsterize a person.
Exactly.
And that they may have done something or several things, but it doesn't make them necessarily a monster. Not that there aren't monsters.
Well, that's what I think that the average man is afraid of, the monsterization, because the way they act out, the behaviors that we had, like we talking about this other personality, I said, I wonder if he's overcompensating for somebody having what we're thinking. We're thinking he's going to make a grave error soon, right? But I'm like, maybe he's the product of one of those errors, and he's been socialized in such a way that he just rises on the spectrum.
What is the saying? Hurt people.
Right.
Is that oftentimes anyone, male or female, who abuses somebody was themselves a victim of abuse. And so we have cycles here that we have to, again, when we go into polarization, how do we ever treat this? But we have to protect people, right? But I want to go back to this idea, right? That we have these factors, all sorts of influences on us. But at the end of the day, unless we do have a severe mental illness, and I'm going to accept that there are people that have psychotic breaks,
right?
That do things, right? That are out of their minds. If you're not out of your mind, right, you do have control over yourself. And let's, again, back to audacity, right?
Audacity.
And there's the spectrum of audacity says, I can't control myself, that's the excuse, right? The other side is, I have no audacity, so they can't control themselves, they have no excuse, right? We can project it or we can receive it. And it's when we get in the middle. And I mean, we got a good conversation going on in our chat over here about patriarchy and wars and animus. And that's, I mean, that's a discussion for a whole other time.
It's patriarchy in the way, because I do see a lot of people throw that out there. Oh, it's just patriarchy,
right?
You know.
And it tends to be a throwaway word because very few matriarchal societies have existed in modern time for us to even know what they look like, right?
Right.
But when we talk about patriarchy, we talk about the fact that particularly women and children are treated as lesser. And so in the chat, it's Zijenko1 is talking about some of the documentaries we've been seeing about Catholic Church, Jehovah's Witnesses. I know there's been things on Mormons. All of these, back to the sort of the Bible, but it's not even that. You throw in these other Boy Scouts. Right. You can throw in the
which have been
gymnastics.
Really quiet lately, right? What's going on with the Boy Scouts?
Any of these institutions where there is secrecy, where there's hierarchy, right? So where it's closed systems where there's secrecy and there's a hierarchy.
Systems.
There's a system, secrecy, hierarchy, and where there's absolute power at each level of hierarchy, right? And so you go up to an absolute power at the top. In Catholicism, you have the Pope, right? And then you have your bishops and so forth. In Jehovah's Witnesses, they have their governing body. And the Mormons, they have a governing body, right? And that there's somebody at the top that has absolute power. And typically each strata in those hierarchies, that person has a power that part of it stops at them, right? And so you have this. Again, when I'm talking about patriarchy particularly, because there are female warriors, I mean, we could get into that.
Oh,
but,
yes,
you know,
we can.
But to say, talking about the system of patriarchy that says that men are more valuable than women and children. And so this is, you know, husbands, you know, are the head of the house, women be in submission.
It's funny you say that, because
and that's a misapplication of that. I'm not going to get into that.
It's totally
anybody wants to message me about that, we can talk about it. But to say, but it's the idea that men are somehow more valuable, their reputations are more important. So we've got to protect their reputation versus protecting women and children. Women and children can't be trusted.
Are women and children complicit?
Are complicit, yes, because they go along with it.
Go along with it, exactly. Because I just posted on, somebody was tagged me or something, and they were talking about men, and I said, no, it's men, women, and children.
Absolutely.
And they went like, wait, what do you mean? What do you mean?
Yeah, and and much like we talk about patriarchy. Women support patriarchy stays in place because women support that system.
Because that goes back to the conversation we were talking about in covering.
Yeah.
When we talk about Kendi Yoshino, because it comes back to who's participating in the hidden assault on our rights, civil rights. And women are it for women, gays are it for gays, men are it for men, cultures, ethnicities, and so forth and so on. We are somehow complicit in our own assault.
Yes. And then we have these ideas that there are systems that are bigger than us, and that could be a church, that could be the Boy Scouts.
Even though you haven't faced it, you know that system is there.
U.S. gymnastics, right? And that you, the little person in it, how dare you have the audacity to challenge this structural system that if it falls apart, all these people are going to be ruined. And that's the only way to get what you want, right? So if you are looking at it through gymnastics, you want to be in the Olympics, you've got to go through that system. There is no other system for you.
One of the biggest aspects of the Me Too movement in there, because again, just for the gray area, because you know I have to talk about the language of men. When you, even particularly in gymnastics, we had one person after another fall victim.
Yeah,
you know, to power that a man. Sorry, I'm sorry, it was a man.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure out who gave the power. We got to figure this out. Mm-hmm. He took advantage of all the gymnasts.
Yep, Nasser.
Right, but how did just one not communicate with the other? How is it that when people didn't see the signs and so forth and so on? And I said that because I know what is it? CS Law and Order, is that the one about the rape thing?
Yeah.
SVU. Been out there forever. I just started watching this thing.
And yes, and let me speak to this from my experience of being in a secretive closed system. Mm-hmm. And when you are in this, mm-hmm. you are indoctrinated to trust that system and to trust that system
is going to work.
And that there are people that know more than you. And because it's secret, you don't know everything. Right. And so you may say something over here, but you're going to be told, but you don't know the whole story.
Right.
And you got to trust the system.
Right, because there's so much energy trying to convince you that you did not see what you saw, you didn't know what you know.
And talk about gaslighting. You didn't see what you saw. What you think you saw wasn't right. What you think you felt, felt is not really what, I got a bad feeling.
And to the point where it legitimately would change your perception.
I got a bad feeling about this. I saw something over here and I got a bad feeling. You don't know what you're talking about, right? It's the football players. What was it? Penn State, University of Pennsylvania. Where was this? Where the boys were being
coached? Yeah,
the coach. I mean, it's like somebody says, "Coach seems creepy," and it's like you don't know what you're talking about, right? Because again, and then we teach people in these systems, male and female, you have to answer to the authority above you, otherwise the system crumbles. And again, you're told this is the only system. And that could be all
your fault,
right? Yeah, this is the only system for you, and that system could be your own family. That could be your church, right? If the only path to God that you believe is possible is through a church, then it's your church. If it's your family, how you are taken care of, the only way you're going to be supported,
right? Or the only path of achieving what it is you need to achieve.
Listen, if it's gymnastics, if it's sports,
but what if it's just simple life?
Yeah.
What is just simply your welfare?
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about systems of power and secrecy and suppression and so forth. And you look and you see how it involves everybody at every level, because not everybody is at some of those top levels. But we're talking about just your simple day-to-day life. Somebody somewhere is trying to exact some kind of power.
And that's your Audacity spectrum.
That's it,
right? Yeah. And so these systems and institutions are examples of the polarized piece of it. That there are leaders that are so overly audacious that they think they can control and harm. There are those that have no audacity who feel like they're helpless to this organization, right? Or the system.
And we're trying to get you all back
to the middle, right?
50-yard line in the middle of this, and bring everybody back center is what we said.
But we're probably getting to
it is about 5 minutes.
But I just want to tie it back into something I heard
we're
about our political system right now, and it's this idea of
we said we were going to talk about the audacity of Bloomberg,
right? And that there's a thing that a guy's written a book. I think his name is Etan Hirsch. He's a Yale professor, and he talked about hobbyism, political hobbyism, and that people follow politics like they follow sports.
Right.
And they have their team, right? Exactly. And whatever, and this is their enemy, and they spend a lot of time following the news.
Right.
And talking about the news of it, but they never actually participate in it, right? Which is fine for professional sports, but for politics, he said, actually, politics is about power. If you're just watching it here, you've got no power. And I thought about this with this audacity spectrum, right? And we actually, I think, are very much a culture to say in the United States,
right?
Who might have the audacity to be involved in politics, right? And so to say you don't have to run for office, right?
Put to a number of people.
Exactly, you don't have to run for office, right? But we just think there's nothing I can do, right? We feel powerless. And then you say you got Michael Bloomberg who's going to come in here and buy.
Absolutely.
A Republican who's going to now claim he's a Democrat and just buy his way in. And you look at it and you're like, oh my God, we're seeing it happen again. And he's like, he has the audacity to have been on tape saying racist statements, instituting racist policies.
Right. Causing citizens to live under an apartheid in New York.
64 women. Please don't get me going on Bloomberg. 64 women have cases of sexual harassment against him. That's more than Trump.
Right.
And yet he's the audacity to say, I can still win. I can still run for
because
president.
I can use what I know to be the greatest influence, which is media, and impact your decision.
Well, and money.
But on that point, and here's the point: is yes, Bloomberg, one extreme, has the audacity. We're trying to get you to understand is that we all should have a little bit of audacity.
But most of us, the vast majority of us, need more.
We need more.
We're not talking to the people who have too much audacity.
This is like that pep
you don't
talk.
watch
You need,
they're not watching us.
More audacity.
Be more audacious.
Yes.
Think about our President Obama. The audacity of hope. For a lot of people, just hope, it feels like being audacious. It's like reaching for something that you're never going to have.
But then for color girls, for which the rainbow is enough. I love how we have to check ourselves on that. So we're gonna get ready to go. Angela's gonna give us some leading words, but this again is gonna be a continued topic because there are things continuously in the headlines. But we wanted to really explain the audacity spectrum, what's on the spectrum. While there are people who seem to have more audacity for others because they want the power, they want the secrecy, they want the systems, they want the hierarchy. What's on the other side of that spectrum? And that's where we need to move the needle. You need to have just as much audacity as us to get together on a Sunday afternoon on a live stream and have this conversation and engage two-way conversations, thanking everybody that stopped in.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And share and comments. So we're going to come right to the comments after this. We got to go get some dinner. We got to go get some other things in this. I'm trying to think what we might have coming. Of course, now we are looking at Leading Women Weekend.
Yes.
Angela and I have really got to get together. This year we want to do it virtually because I have the audacity to say, I'm not ready, but 2021, I want us to do what we kind of have envisioned in our mind. I mean, we should have as much audacity as The Rock.
I was like, we're gonna have a Oprah arena audacity for this thing.
Right, that's what I said. We need that arena audacity. But Leading Women Weekend will happen virtually. We're gonna, of course, we'll be here live. We're gonna bring some other people in. We're still planning out how it looks. We've got some invitations. We've got some people really that we can bring to the table that are making themselves available to us for Leading Women Weekend. March the 13th, 14th, and 15th. March the 13th being the anniversary of Dryer Buzz. And so, that's me. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, I know. You look over, it's like, wow.
Whoa, there we are. And then just conversations. Angela having a great history in helping women launch.
Yeah.
Myself working with entrepreneurs, and we want to get away from entrepreneurs.
No, I think
and go with the whole woman in the presence of men and so forth.
So I like to do leading women wisdom, and so our leading women wisdom is: if you are worried about being too audacious, you're not. I can tell you, because the people that are overly audacious don't worry about it. So you can be more audacious, and then for now and probably through the summer, if you follow me anywhere, you're going to hear me giving regular PSAs about participating in the census. Please fill out census forms. Make sure this is how you get your vote counted. If the most basic way we're going to get representation is to make sure everybody fills out the census. So I'm going to be talking about every time I'll be like, don't forget the census. Don't forget the census. And if you know somebody that might have trouble completing the census or not understanding it, that's one thing you can do. Mm-hmm. You don't have to run for office. You don't have to go out. You don't have to call. You don't have to knock on doors. If you can help one person participate in the census that maybe doesn't have access to technology or might just be nervous about it. Mm-hmm. It's I can't promise you. I don't know what this government's going to do to people, but this is how we get representatives.
If you want to help make sure women count,
that's exactly right. If you want women to count, you have got to complete the census.
There you go. All right. So when we hit the stop button, guys, it'll automatically be available in the replays. It's also going to become a podcast. We are on all your favorite podcast platforms: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor. What are some of the others? Spotify.
Did you say YouTube?
Yes, it's going to replay on YouTube and so forth. If you miss any of the episodes, we're about 4 or 5 in.
Yep.
I can't even remember when we started. So on Sundays, we try to give you a good hour. You get to ask leading women. Mm-hmm. It's a great two-way conversation. So thank you guys so much for saying that. Such a great topic. And we just really wanted. We were trying to really figure out how to call this.
Yeah.
So, but we'll be back. next Sunday, we got to check the calendar because I know
Yeah.
there's some things coming up like Easter and all that. So we got to make sure that we are going to be here. All right, I'm going to ask Patty Buddy to mute us and give you guys the outro. Bye.
Bye.
Go now to dryerbuzz.com and follow @dryerbuzz on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. It's all about the buzz.